What are the two qualities we spoke about in text 3?
Tolerance and
Yeah.
humbleness.
Humanity,
Tolerance.
Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Tol-
humility and tolerance. Nice.
Yeah,
So
humility.
today we're gonna discuss about this fourth one, text 4. So this text 4 have a little higher understanding about different terms also, and this will be more relatable
Prabhuji,
to all
can
of
you
us.
recite first, second, and third ones, please?
Yeah, okay. So I'll recite all the four, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this text 4 has lot of connection with our sadhana bhakti, and some of you might relate more about how the things are happening in your life also. So I'll try to cover, this is a little lengthy topic. So I'll try to cover up by 9 p.m. So maybe 5 minutes here and there. And after that, we will have Q&A, okay, questions. So we'll go with the verse. So before the text 4, I'll try to recite the text 3 also. Okay, I'll go with the this one. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayati kirim yatkrupatam vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamatham Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापणं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधे वर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनम नाम नामकारे बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पित नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशं इहाजनेनानुरागः तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीयः सदा हरिः न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिर्रहेतुकी त्वयि. So we'll go with the translation. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. So it's very interesting that in the text 3, we have learned how we can chant the or glorify the Lord 24/7. Kirtaniyah sada harihi. So by developing humility and tolerance, we can actually come to the platform where we can do Kirtaniyah sada hari. So this text 4 talks about the result of doing this text 3. That means if one person who is chanting the glories of the Lord consistently, incessantly, always, then he will actually lose the taste for everything. Like here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware, bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tvai. So here, if we divide this rejection of all this material into different platforms, so we can see on a sensual platform or physical platform, he's rejecting wealth, dhanam, and beautiful women, right, Sundari. And on the mental platform, he's rejecting the followers, right? Because when we have followers, we have a feeling like we are powerful or we are proud of something, we are like achievers and etc. And on the intellectual platform, he's actually rejecting the respect or the reputation as a learned scholar. So kavita means a kind of respect or the reputation being learned scholar like that. So he's rejecting that also. And most importantly, he's actually rejecting liberation also. When he's saying that mama janmani janmanishwara, that means he's not caring about taking the repetition of birth and death. He's saying that I don't want liberation also. What I want is, as Prahlad Maharaj says in 7th canto, that he want the devotional service, the devotional association. So he don't want na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhakti rahetuki tvai. Ahetuki bhakti means unmotivated. That is pure devotional service where you don't have any hidden motivation. So what is motivated bhakti means? We are coming to Krishna not because we want Krishna, but we want something that can be done through Krishna. So this is called a hetuki, not a hetuki. So there is no motivation. So Lord Chaitanya is talking about a very high level. Probably till now in our classes or in general in the initial level, we talk about going back home, back to Godhead. So what is the ultimate aim of life of the soul is to go back from where it has come. So we talk more about going back to spiritual world. But here, when we see the exalted devotees like Lord Chaitanya or Prahlad Maharaj or other devotees, they don't even talk about going back to Godhead. They say that wherever we are, whether in the hellish planets or the heavenly planets or earthly planets, wherever we are, what we want is the ahetuki apratihata bhakti, that is unmotivated, uninterrupted devotion that we want. So if we have that devotion, it doesn't matter where we are. So it is very difficult to understand at our sadhana bhakti that how someone can have that aspiration, because in our life we see, or if we go around and ask people what is the aim of their life, most of the people will talk about these four things only. Either we talk about dhanam, janam, followers, sundari and kavitam and etc. So all are material things. So the exalted devotees consider these material things as the impediments for devotion. So why they are rejecting? Because they know that if they go for these things, those will become actually impediments in our bhakti. We cannot practice bhakti nicely if we are attracted to that. So we'll try to analyze this thing in a little broader way by considering the three broad paths in the Vedic culture. So we talk about karma, jnana, and bhakti. So when I'm talking about karma, it is not directly the law of karma which I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the karma kanda section. If you see the translation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, flowery language of the Vedas. So initial section of the Vedas is actually dealt with the karma kandas. So what this karma kanda means, performing some rituals to have some material benefit. Like we perform some yajna to have a child, some yajna to have wealth, or some yajna to have health, or some yajnas that we can go to the higher planetary systems and have more and more sense gratification. So these are comes under karma kanda section. So here what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting, he is rejecting this karma kanda path also. He doesn't want any material benefit. And when we talk about jnana, so here the people who are jnanis or who are practicing the jnana, those are the people who actually demonize this world. That means they talk negative about this world, like, oh, this world is full of miseries, full of temptations, we should not be here, we should just escape from this world. So here the problem is they talk a lot about this world in a negative way, and they just want to get out of this, but there is no focus on going back to spiritual world. So the talk about the different realm that is existing, that is spiritual world and the devotional service, they don't talk about it. Most of the times they talk about it, they focus is of getting out. So going from this world is okay, but where they want to go, that also has to be clear. So what they want to merge in the Brahman effulgence. So they want to get merged with the God. So what is happening is here there is no service. So when there is no service, what will happen is the soul will remain unsatisfied. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't want that also. I don't want liberation also. And the third is bhakti. So if we see that if we consider the pendulum, okay, so the one extreme is the karma kanda, where people say that, this world is a good place. Some adjustment if you make, you can enjoy here a lot. So this is one extreme which talks about more of positive about this world. Still, here also there is no Krishna bhakti. And the other extreme is jnana, where they talk about like this world is full of suffering, full of temptations. We should not be here. So here also there is no focus on Krishna. Now, when we talk about bhakti, it is balanced, right? So it says that whatever world we are into, let us utilize this world to get closer to Krishna. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I'm rejecting karma and jnana, and what I want is only bhakti. So what bhakti does, it actually balances. So it doesn't reject anything. Even if we see in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they say Yukta Vairagya. That means You accept everything only in connection with serving to Krishna. So when we talk about this text 3 to text 4 connection, that it ends with Kirtaniya Sadahari, and here it is talking about how the rejection is happening to all the material things. So here rejection is not happening merely on the intellectual level or mental level. Here what is happening is the devotee is getting higher taste, right? So when the higher taste comes, what happens is we actually lose taste for the lower things. One moment. Okay, so in our life we actually know, once we come into bhakti, we know that these things has to be avoided. These are the things which we should not do, these are the things which we have to do, and doing all those sinful things are not good. All this as an information we have it. So at our sadhana level, what happens is externally we may say no to the things, but internally the taste will be there. That means we are avoiding very much forcefully. Okay, so what happens is when we practically implement the text 3, when we practice humility, tolerance, we come to the stage of Kirtaniya Sadahari. This loss of taste and the rejection of the things will happen very naturally. So there is no extra effort to say no to the things that are not conducive to the bhakti. So externally you are saying no, and internally also it is no. But when we are not at that stage, when we are now practicing initially for a very long time, what will happen is we will externally say no to the things, but internally we will say yes only. So in Bhagavad Gita 9.40, 14 also, Krishna talks about how a devotee has dhrida vrataha. That means with determination he is trying. So here we should also have determination. We might have internally yes to the things which are not conducive for the bhakti, but still we have to have determination to stay with that particular no. So here what is happening is most of the times we try to do what we say the false renunciation. And the problem with the false renunciation is that the taste will remain, and when the sense objects come in front of us, we might indulge more than what we used to indulge. So when we talk about sadhana bhakti, it is a very balance. So we don't go to the extreme of rejecting so many things only in the first go. We will try to focus on doing what is important for the bhakti, and then gradually we'll leave the things. Otherwise what will happen is the focus will be more on what is to be rejected. Actually we have to be Krishna conscious, not about the things which we have to reject. So it is very important that when we have such lofty philosophy of rejecting all the material things, we should also understand how these things has to be implemented in a right way. Otherwise what will happen is rather than we making progress, we actually go down. So we'll try to understand this by using the difference between uh, is the there is something called as detachment, which we talk a lot about in our bhakti. So we have to be detached, we have to be detached. So one moment, who is on? Okay, so we talk about detachment. So now we will try to learn about the commitment. Okay, and we'll also try to learn about the difference between attachment, detachment, and commitment. Okay, so these are very closely terms, and sometimes we interchangeably use these terms. So most of the times we actually don't understand the mood of a particular text or a particular verse, and we misimplement that. So here, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that reject all the material, only accept bhakti, practically how we can implement, we have to understand. So if we see the two major scriptures which we actually have the basis for all Krishna consciousness, that is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So in Bhagavad Gita, there is no mentioning of renouncing the world. Krishna is always talking about fight. But if we see the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is about full of stories of different pastimes of different devotees who are renouncing the world. How Parikshit Maharaj has renounced the world, how Prahlad Maharaj is renouncing all the property of his father, how different devotees are actually rejecting all the material things for the sake of devotion. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about, you have to fight, you have to get the kingdom. So we might get confused, like, Bhagavad Gita is contradicting with the Srimad Bhagavatam, because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asking to fight for the kingdom. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is talking about renouncing everything. So how we can have the synchronization with this, that both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are talking about the main topic, that is absorption in Krishna, that is devotion to Krishna. So devotion to Krishna is not only about giving up the things, or it is not only about taking up the things, it is about both. So for example, we'll try to understand this. For example, there is a very young devotee, okay, who is very energetic and all. So for that person, if he want to serve, then we can tell him, you can go on book distribution, you can collect the charity from different people and bring it to the temple, you can do this services, you can go on preaching to colleges and different things. But there is another devotee who is very old, and he has actually diagnosed with a terminal disease, and he has probably 1 or 2 months to live. So for that devotee, his superior or his Shiksha Guru or his Guru Maharaj might suggest him to live in a dham and to chant Hare Krishna more, or you don't think about many other things. You just focus on your sadhana, you just focus on chanting, you just take rest, and many other things he might told. So whether the person is young or old, the point is absorption in Krishna. But the activities and the means of absorption can be different. We cannot tell an old person that you go on big distribution and you go on these things, because he has very less time. But a young devotee, we cannot say that you just leave the world and you just focus on your sadhana, you just chant Hare Krishna. So the point is absorption in Krishna. What service we are doing, that might vary, but internally we are going for the absorption in Krishna. So that is the reason we should never get confused that whether I have to renounce the world, I have to think about the material things, or what is the difference between these two, and whether I should focus on material or spiritual. So many confusions will be there. So here we have to understand that Krishna bhakti or devotion to Krishna doesn't mean only giving up the things, but it is also about taking up the things with the proper context. So we'll try to understand this by understanding the meaning or the difference between detachment and irresponsibility. So irresponsibility is something which comes before the duty, and detachment is something which comes after the duty. So for example, a student is there, okay, his exams are there. So if he's saying like Krishna will take care, I will not prepare, then what do you think? It is detachment or irresponsibility?
That is laziness and irresponsibility, Prabhuji.
Irresponsibility, right? So a student studies and writes the exam and depends on Krishna, prays to Krishna, like let the things go well. That is called detachment. So that means he is doing his duty and he is depending on Krishna. So that is detachment. So many of the times we have a misconception that aversion to commitment or aversion to responsibility is detachment. No. So the actual opposite word of detachment is irresponsibility. Okay. So many times we get confused. Okay, we say like, these devotees are like, they don't take care of anything, they just leave everything and all. And sometimes by reading Srimad Bhagavatam or such very high philosophy, we might think all these things are waste. We should not study, we should not do anything and all. So we should not be in a confusion. So bhakti is not about attachment or detachment, but it is more about the commitment. What we are ready to do something for Krishna. If Krishna needs some things for us to give up, then we will give up for Krishna. If we have to take up some things, even if it is material, we will take up. Like we go for, let us say, having the donations or book distribution. So many from the outside perspective, it might looks like a business, okay, or they are just making money through selling books and all. But that is looks like a material thing, but actually it is not material because it is in connection with Krishna. So Prabhupada always says that a Vaishnava might be doing similar things what a materialistic person is doing, but actually that is not material, that is spiritual. So we should be ready to give up the things for Krishna, and we should also be ready to take up
Prabhuji,
things.
you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Is it? No, Mataji, I am not on mute. Is the same problem coming with everyone?
No,
Also, I
Prabhuji, we are
can hear
able
you.
to hear you.
We are
Okay,
able to hear it.
okay. Thank
We are
you.
able to.
Okay. So here, Srila Prabhupada's pastime comes where in one of the lecture he says, when we talk about detachment in the devotion, people give up so many things whimsically. Okay. They give up so many things, whatever they used to do and all. So it is not only about giving up the things, but it is also about taking up some things. Like Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So he says, like, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, even hippies also done. Okay, they also given up their family, they also given up their responsibility and all. So I have came to the US to teach them what is Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So we have to understand that in the Krishna Bhakti, in the devotion, we have to know what has to be given up, and we should also know what we have to take up and whom we have to surrender. So Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. This whole sentence has to be completed in our actions. Otherwise, what will happen is we might think we are detached, but actually from the different perspective, from the ultimate perspective, we are becoming more and more irresponsible. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about rejecting the material things, he is not talking that, this material things are not good or not bad or anything. He's actually taking all these things as an impediment to the devotion to Krishna. Okay, so I want to have unmotivated devotion. Because of that, this becoming impediment. That is the reason I don't want it. But if these things can help me in growing bhakti, then I'm ready to take up that also. So in our life also, there might be some things which might look material, but still we have to take up that if they are helping us to progress in bhakti. Of course, this judgment and all that will come with the experience and the guidance from the senior Vaishnavas, but we have to not have the misconception that everything material that we have to give up. So moving on to, we have to know that the focus is always on Krishna. It is not on giving up the things. Because most of the times, if we see in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrut also, his focus is not more on how to follow the regulative principles. His focus is more on how to make people chant. Because only when they have higher taste, they can actually give up the lower taste. So if we too much focus on just what is to give up, then people may get alienated. For example, what happened is, in the previous batches of Gita Sandesh, I asked one of my friend to join the Gita Sandesh online classes. So then he said, like, to join the classes, we have to give up non-veg, we have cannot do it. So somehow he had a misconception that to attend the Gita Sandesh classes, I have to give up so many things. So I told him, like, how can you give up the things without knowing it has to be give up and what it is doing to your life? So it is not the other way. It has to be go like, first you understand what is the thing. Okay, even if you have all that habits, still you attend the Gita Sandesh. Because unless people have a higher taste, they will not get the strength and understanding to give up the lower things. So in our preaching also, this is very important that we focus more on telling people what to do. What not to do, gradually they can also understand. Because in the past times of Srila Prabhupada also, we see, if Raghunath Puridas Prabhu can add the point, that he has not told anyone about the four regulative principles before the initiation. He has given the initiation and then he put on the board that these are the four regulative principles which we have to follow. Is it right, Raghunath Puridas Prabhu?
Yes, yes, Prabhu. What you said is because they were not knowing about all this.
Yeah.
As we spoke, everything was, everything was against these four principles which Prabhupada
Yeah.
wanted.
Yes. So that is the main focus. So what happens is initially it will be tough. And as I said, internally they might be saying yes to the things. Externally they might be knowing, they might be saying no to the things. The taste remains. But gradually what happens is all these regulative habits which we have to develop. Today we might think that it is not a good thing. So that is why we are not doing it. But gradually what will happen is we ourselves will have a self-realization that these all things actually becoming impediments in the bhakti. So because of these attachment, I'm not able to absorb in Krishna. And that is how naturally you'll start giving up the things. Probably some of you might experience this, that earlier you might have avoided certain things because it is not a right thing to do, or it is not permitted in the devotional service, etc. But over a period of time, you understood why it has to give up. And it is not only on the intellectual level, but on a understand experiential level also. You have seen, like, this is all not useful. I'm actually losing the taste in Krishna because of all these lower things. So you voluntarily and happily give up. Initially we have to put a lot of effort to give up the things, But as soon as we become little pure and have taste in chanting, have taste in devotional service, we naturally give up. Like for example, today we might have, or many of have, at least I have, the problem of getting up in the early in the morning. The alarm, we put it, but the alarm rings. Externally, we might say, yes, I have to get up. But internally, the mind says, no, no, go to sleep. So over a period of time, what will happen is you don't need an alarm. Like once His Grace Radhesham Prabhu told that once you become pure enough, then you will jump out of your bed and you'll be excited to see how I want to attend Mangalarti, I want to see the deities, I want to listen to the Aarti, I want to attend the Tulsi Aarti, I want to chant my rounds. Today we have like, oh, I have to chant 16 rounds. But as we become pure, then what will happen is we will say, why only 16 rounds? Why cannot chant more? So today the same 16 rounds looks like burden. All the regulative principles looks like burden. But as we become purified, then what will happen is all these things we will take up naturally. So this is the way we actually gradually grow in this. Now it is a very important thing. This is the last thing in the part in this talk. I would like to talk about guilt. Is everyone had at least once or twice or sometime the experience of guilt in their life? You have guilt about something or other,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
right?
Prabhuji.
So this is a very honest talk we're gonna do for next 5 minutes, that we all have guilt for some or other thing. Okay, and especially when we start practicing bhakti, we take a vow that I will not do this thing. This doesn't come under the permitted things. I will not do it. But sometimes the desire becomes so strong that we do it. Okay. And after that, we have a guilt. Now, here, the mechanism of mind is very subtle. First, what it will do is it will encourage you, motivate you to do that thing. And once you do it, it becomes the same mind becomes a judge and it start beating you up. Hey, why you did this? You should not have done like this. See, you are not good for bhakti. What is the use of doing all these rounds and all these things that you are not able to keep up one vow also? You told you will not do this and you are doing it again. So many things will come and we will fall prey for this guilt. So this guilt is actually good. Okay. But it becomes bad when it becomes the impediment in our spiritual practice. Now I'll try to give a little analogy by using this 5 fingers. Okay. Now the thing which we should not do, that is wrongdoing. Okay. So let us consider this finger as wrongdoing. Okay. Little finger. And the guilt is this finger. Okay. And you is this finger. And this is, we will keep it empty. Okay. And this is Krishna. Okay. So this is you, this is Krishna, this is guilt, and this is wrongdoing. If this is the sequence, then you are well situated. But mind is very subtle. Okay. What it does is it takes out the guilt from this place and puts here. So now what is happening? It might look little difficult to understand, but it is very easy. You just focus. So guilt has to be in between you and wrongdoing. That means that guilt feeling should stop you from doing the thing. But mind, what it does is it removes the guilt from this place and puts in between you and Krishna. So what mind says, what is the use of doing bhakti? Better give up bhakti. Okay, better don't chant, because after chanting also you're doing the same thing. So what is the use? So just give up. So what is happening is the desires actually only strong sometimes. It is not that every moment the desire is strong. So these are called as the peaks or the spikes. So those will be there for only some time. After that, that won't be there. So in between one spike to the other spike, there is that time space where we actually practice the bhakti. Okay. If we are not practicing the bhakti between these two spikes, then what will happen is next time when the desire becomes strong, we will easily fall because we are not ready for it. So the guilt, what it has to do is it has to make our bhakti more stronger. Hey, we are falling down because we are not practicing well. So let us practice well. Forget about the fall down now. Let us practice well. But mind, what it does, it puts the guilt in between you and Krishna. And it says, don't practice at all. So we have to be very careful that when we take a vow, like vrata we will take. So when we fall down from our vrata or when we fall down from our vows, We should not think that the bhakti is not useful. The bhakti is not enough intense. That is the message we have to give to ourselves. If it is more intense, I will not fall down. Okay. So, but mind it says like you have fallen down because bhakti is not useful. So better give up bhakti. So this is something which we have to be very careful. We should not let our guilt stop ourselves going towards Krishna. I have got some of the messages in the group. Sometimes one of the Mataji was saying like, Prabhuji, I am not practicing well. I'm not participating in the classes. So I leave this group. I'm not feeling good by being in this group itself. So I told Mataji like, you are in the group and yet you are not able to attend the classes. How better you will become if you quit the group? So this is mind's trap. It says like, however you are not doing, you quit. So rather than thinking like that, we have to think by being here also, I'm not able to practice. Then by leaving, definitely it will be more dangerous. So let me stay and continue and let me try again and again. So we should never let our guilt come in between, because today we might not be able to meet the standards of the bhakti, but that doesn't mean that we should stop practicing bhakti. That standards we will reach gradually. And what is the way to reach the standards? That is by practicing the same bhakti. So today when we hear about Srila Prabhupada or the Shat Goswamis or Prahlad Maharaj or many other exalted devotees, we actually feel very insignificant and useless and very much, weak and fallible. But actually, all those devotees have not become such exalted devotees overnight. They also spent many lifetimes. They also practiced bhakti for so many years. That is the reason they are at that exalted level. So today we cannot compare ourselves to them and think that we are so insignificant, so let us not practice itself. So this is a wrong way of conception. What we have to think is they also practice the same process that we are practicing. Okay, they might have touched that standard in some time. I might also touch that in some time, some more or less, but I have to keep practicing. So we should always remind ourselves that guilt or any discouragement should not come in between us. It is okay to fall down, but it is not okay to stay fallen. So it is very important to understand that it is okay to fall down, but it is not okay to stay fallen. Okay, so once you fall down, you have to pick up immediately and you have to keep practicing. So this fall downs should also should only remind us that our bhakti is not enough intense. And sometimes the power of Maya is too much on us and it reminds us that we are not the controller. So we have to take things in a positive and we have to continue. So we should not determine the progress in our bhakti based on our fall downs. We have to determine our progress in our bhakti by seeing how we are practicing even after fall down. So this is a very important thing, because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about very lofty philosophy of giving up so many material desires, we might get into a trap of our mind like, that kind of bhakti, you can never do it. You are not able to give up small things. So what is the chance of giving up so many big things? So never get into any discouragement or any guilt or any negative guilt, I would say. So use everything as an impetus to the bhakti, not an impediment to the bhakti. So it should actually become a pathway to lead us to Krishna. So we have to use everything to go close to Krishna. We should not close our doors to Krishna. Okay, so this is very important thing, because I have personally experienced and I heard from different devotees also that most of the times their bhakti got intense after fall down, because they realize like, their bhakti is not intense and they are taking many things for granted. So after that only they are going up. So let not our fall down or any breaking of anything become an impediment in our bhakti. Let us it become an indication that our bhakti is not intense, and let us increase the intensity of our bhakti. Then only over a period of time, we will be able to develop our humility, tolerance, and then we will start doing Kirtaniya Sadahari. And over a period of time, we will be easily, naturally able to reject Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, Kavitam, and all liberation and everything. So reaching to this point of Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahetuki Tvai can be done with the same process what you are doing today. So just hold on to that process, and then over a period of time, you'll reach all the standards. So I'll try to summarize that we have started with this verse, how Mahaprabhu is rejecting everything, not because they are not good or etc., but because they are becoming the impediments of our bhakti. And what he wants is not the material things. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he says, I don't want anything. If at all you want to give me any desire, then my desire is to not to have any other desire, only devotion. So Mahaprabhu is asking for only devotion. So similarly, we should also ask for pure devotion only. So when Krishna says, what I can give you, then we should ask him like, give me something that I can give to you. So you give me that devotion, which I can give it to you. Give me the power and strength and intelligence to serve you. So these are the things which we have to ask. And we have later on learned that how some initially we will say externally no and internally yes, or externally no and internally yes. So that will also go over a period of time. And later we have understood that how guilt is coming in between us and Krishna, that is not good. But if the guilt is coming in between wrongdoing in us, that is good. So focus, it has to be on Krishna, not on giving up the things. That is there, but the focus should be more on Krishna. In our preaching also, we will talk more about how we have to practice bhakti, how we have to chant, how we have to follow all the spiritual practices. Then we talk more about the regulations and all. So this is about the text 4. I hope I have not gone here and there too fast, too slow, too philosophical, too lofty. I hope that things have gone to your heart in a proper way. So please forgive if I taken more time, and if I have confused you somewhere, you can ask questions. Thank you so much.
Hari Bol Prabhuji, thank you so much. It
Hari
was a very simple, easy to understand explanation, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Especially
Yeah.
the part about the guilt and Krishna and all those things. It was really easy to interpret and relate also, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.